Welcome back to Red's View. In this video, I'm going to break down two things that every United fan is talking about right now. First, the VAR decisions from the Bournemouth draw. Both of them, in detail. Because there are two completely different stories being told about that night. And I want to cut through the noise and tell you exactly what happened, what was right, and what United have every reason to be furious about. And then second, the Bruno Guimarães transfer situation. Because Fabrizio Romano has now spoken directly on this. And what he said is more nuanced than the headlines are making it sound. I'm going to break down exactly where United stand, what it actually means, and why the next 2 months will determine everything. This is a big one. Stay with me all the way through, because by the end of this video, you're going to have a much clearer picture of where this club is right now, both on the pitch and off it. This is Red's View. Let's go. Right, before we even get into the VAR decisions, let's just acknowledge what kind of night that was at Bournemouth. A 2-2 draw, 2 goals conceded, Harry Maguire sent off, a penalty controversy, and United walking away with 1 point when, depending on how you look at it, they arguably deserve 3 or were arguably fortunate not to lose. It was one of those nights where everything that could go sideways did. And the VAR decisions sit right at the centre of the conversation. So let's go through them one by one, properly, with full context. Because not every controversial call is wrong. And I think it's important as a fan channel that we're honest about that, even when it hurts. 67 minutes, Manchester United are pushing. Amad Diallo drives into the Bournemouth penalty area, makes contact with defender Adrien Truffert and goes to ground claiming he's been pulled. Referee Stuart Atwell waves it away on the pitch. No penalty. And here's where it gets really frustrating. Not because of the decision itself, but because of what happened immediately after. Bournemouth broke away from that very phase of play and scored their equalising goal, which meant VAR Craig Pawson, who was already in the process of checking the Truffert challenge in the background, now had to run a full formal review. A goal had been scored. The entire phase of play had to be re-examined from the beginning. Pawson went through it all. The contact, the movement, the dynamic between the two players. And he confirmed Atwell's on-field call. No penalty. The contact from Truffert was deemed not sufficient to constitute a foul. Now, here is my honest take on this one. And I say this as someone who wanted that penalty, who was watching in real time, hoping Atwell would point to the spot. Amad went down. He felt the contact, and instead of staying on his feet and trying to get a shot away or pull the ball back, he dropped. He went to ground looking for the penalty rather than looking for the goal. And you could see it. The reaction of his own teammates told you everything you needed to know. They weren't screaming for a penalty. They weren't rushing to the referee. They knew. The arm from Truffert was there, but it was the kind of contact you see in penalty areas every single week in this league. 2 players moving across each other in a relatively neutral position. Not a grab, not a pull, upper body contact in a crowded area. The verdict from the referee, confirmed by VAR, no penalty, was correct. And as painful as it is to say that, I think we have to be fair about it. Where it gets controversial is not the decision itself, it's the timing. Frustrated because Bournemouth scored directly from that breakaway. That is the part that stings. That is the part that makes it feel unjust, even when the call was technically right. And that is football sometimes. It's brutal, but the call was correct. Now, 78 minutes, and this one is a completely different conversation. Evanilson is in behind. He's got a clear run at goal. And Harry Maguire, instead of trying to play the ball, instead of trying to make a legitimate challenge, grabs him, pulls him, takes him to the ground. Referee Atwell points to the spot and shows Maguire a red card for denying an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. Dogso. VAR checks it and confirms both decisions immediately. Look, I know some of you will disagree with me on this. I've seen the comments, I've read the reactions. People are saying the hold wasn't strong enough, that Evanilson could have stayed on his feet, that the red card was harsh. But here's the thing, when you actually slow it down and look at what Maguire did, the arms go around the player. There is no attempt to play the ball. None. Not even a stretch of the leg toward it. It is a deliberate action to stop an opponent who is through on goal. That is the textbook definition of a dog-so foul. That is exactly what the rule is designed to punish. You can debate the level of the contact. You can argue Evanilson went down more easily than he needed to. But the action from Maguire, the intent and the clear evidence on replay, this was always going to be a penalty and a red card. And honestly, VAR confirming it was the right call. The controversy here is not the decision. The controversy is the contrast. Because United fans, rightly, are pointing to the Amad incident earlier in the same game and saying, if Maguire's hold on Evanilson is a foul, how is Truffett's arm around Amad not a foul? Curious. How are those two incidents measured by different standards in the same match? And that inconsistency in how contact is judged throughout a game is the legitimate argument. Not that Maguire's red card was wrong. The threshold for what constitutes a foul appears to shift depending on who is being fouled and when. And that is a problem. That is the conversation the sport needs to have, honestly. Which brings me to the next development. Because Fabrizio Romano posted on his Instagram after the game with some significant information. Manchester United are preparing to make a formal complaint to PGMOL, the body that oversees refereeing in England, specifically about the failure to award a penalty for the Amad incident. United's argument is clear. They believe Amad was wrestled to the ground with no attempt to play the ball. And the club's position is that similar contact in the same game, specifically the Maguire incident, was treated completely differently. They are pointing to the inconsistency and demanding answers. Michael Carrick made his feelings clear in his post-match comments. Bruno Fernandes was equally direct. And now the club is following that up formally with PGMOL. Now, I have to be straight with you here. I've already explained that I think the Amad decision was correct. I don't believe it was a foul. But I understand completely why United are making this complaint, because the inconsistency argument is real. The feeling that big decisions in crucial moments are not being handled with the same standard across the board, that feeling has been building at this club for a while. And making a formal complaint is the right way to handle it. Not social media noise, not press conference theatrics, a formal, structured challenge through the proper channels. Carrick keeping it professional, keeping it focused. Whether PGMOL respond meaningfully is another question entirely, but United are right to push. The broader point here is important though, because what happened at Bournemouth, the red card, the VAR controversy, the dropped points, it all feeds into a much bigger picture. A picture of a squad that is still not quite where it needs to be. That still has vulnerabilities at the back. That still makes costly individual errors at crucial moments. And that is exactly why what happens in the summer transfer window matters so much. Now let me perfectly shift to the second major story, and this one has been generating a lot of noise this week. Fabrizio Romano spoke on the Market Madness podcast about Manchester United's interest in Bruno Guimarães, and I want to go through exactly what he said, because I think the way some outlets have covered this has been slightly misleading. Here is what Romano actually said. He confirmed that United appreciate Bruno Guimarães, the interest is real, the appreciation for the player is, in Romano's own words, clear. But, and this is the crucial part, Romano also said that at this stage, Bruno is one of many players United are considering. He used the phrase 6 or 7 players. He said United have not yet decided which kind of midfielder they want to add to the squad. He pointed to 3 specific factors that will determine everything: the managerial situation, Champions League qualification. So let me give you the real picture here. Bruno Guimarães is on United's radar. He is appreciated by the people making decisions at this club. But he is not the done deal. He is not even close to being the confirmed target yet. He is one name on a list that could go in several different directions depending on how the next 2 months of the season play out. And I think that's the honest version of this story that United fans need to hear. But let's actually talk about the player himself. Because if you don't watch a lot of Newcastle, and many United fans don't follow them closely, you might not fully appreciate what kind of midfielder Bruno Guimarães actually is. He is 27 years old. He is Brazilian. He moved to Newcastle from Lyon in January 2022 and has been one of the best midfielders in the Premier League ever since. He signed a long-term contract extension in 2023, which tells you how much Newcastle value him and how difficult and expensive he would be to pry away. What makes him so attractive is the combination of qualities he brings. He is not just a defensive midfielder. He is not just a ball winner. He can do everything. He wins possession back aggressively. He carries the ball forward with real conviction. He reads the game intelligently. He distributes well under pressure, and he leads. He is a genuine leader on that Newcastle pitch every single week. He is the kind of midfielder United's engine room has been desperately missing. Not someone who does one thing well, someone who does everything well. The Casemiro comparison is understandable because both players bring that defensive intensity and combative presence. But Bruno is more complete. He is more dynamic. He is a more rounded football player at this stage of his career. And the age profile works. 27. In his prime, fit and available, already proven in the Premier League for 3 years, no adaptation period needed. He walks straight into United's first team and makes them better immediately. But now let's talk about why this is complicated. Because Romano was very deliberate in flagging those complications, and I think they're worth unpacking properly. The first obstacle is Newcastle themselves. They do not want to sell Bruno Guimarães. He is not a player they have made available. He is not someone they are actively looking to move on. To get this deal done, United would need to come in with a number that Newcastle genuinely cannot say no to. And based on the profile and the contract situation, that number is going to start at £100 million minimum. The second obstacle is competition. Romano was clear. Bruno Guimarães is appreciated not just by United, but by clubs across Europe. This is a player who, if he becomes available, will have options, real options, from clubs in Spain, Germany, France. United will not be the only ones in the room. The third obstacle, and this is the one I keep coming back to, is Champions League football. Romano specifically listed it as one of the determining factors, and he's absolutely right, because if United are not in the Champions League next season, the entire transfer strategy changes, the budget shrinks, the appeal to top players diminishes, the ability to offer Bruno Guimarães a project worth leaving Newcastle for becomes much weaker. This is why the Bournemouth draw hurts so much beyond just the 2 points dropped. Every point dropped in this run-in is a point that could cost United their place in the top 4. And every point that costs them a top 4 finish has a direct knock-on effect on transfers like this. Champions League football is not just a nice bonus, it is the foundation on which the entire summer rebuild is being planned. Now, Romano also gave us some wider context that I think is really important. He said United are going to be busy with midfielders this summer, 1 or 2 additions in the middle of the park, and Jason Wilcox and Christopher Vivell, the Director of Football and Head of Recruitment, are working through a list that includes several different profiles. And we've already covered in previous videos on this channel that Tchouaméni and Camavinga from Real Madrid are also being monitored. That Carlos Baleba is linked, that Sandro Tonali is on the radar, and that Bruno is one of several names being appreciated. What that tells me is that United don't have a clear number 1 target yet. They are in the assessment phase. They are watching how the season ends. They are figuring out the managerial situation because Romano explicitly mentioned that as a factor. Who is in the dugout at Old Trafford next season will influence which type of midfielder United prioritise. A manager who wants a high press and aggressive transitions will want a different profile to one who wants a deeper possession-based structure. And until that is confirmed, the midfield shopping list stays broad. What we can say with confidence is this: United are serious about strengthening the midfield. They understand that replacing Casemiro with quality is not optional. It is essential. And they are looking at the right level of player to do it. The question is not whether they will strengthen. The question is who and how many. And both of those answers depend heavily on what happens between now and May. Let's zoom out and look at the full picture. Manchester United are third in the Premier League table. They are in a genuine top four battle. They have a manager in Michael Carrick who is getting results and earning genuine respect from the players and the fan base. But nights like Bournemouth are a reminder of the gaps that still exist in this squad. The defensive fragility when individual errors creep in. The lack of a dominant, controlling midfielder who can dictate the rhythm of a game when United need to protect a result. The inability in certain moments to close games out. Those are the gaps that the summer transfer window is designed to fill. And the Bruno Guimarães conversation, the Tchouaméni and Camavinga monitoring, the entire midfield project being planned, all of it is a direct response to what has been exposed in matches like the one at Bournemouth. Carrick knows what he needs. Wilcox and Vavell are working toward it. The intent is there, but the runway is short. The points are precious. And every game from now until the end of the season carries the weight of everything that comes after it. Right, let me bring it all home. The Bournemouth draw was a frustrating night. 2 VAR decisions that divided opinion, one of which I believe was correct, one of which I believe was also correct, but both of which highlighted the ongoing problem of consistency in officiating across a single game. And United are right to push back formally through PGMOL, not because I think the Amad call was wrong, but because inconsistency in how contact is judged cannot be allowed to slide without challenge. What I want every United fan watching this to hold on to is this. The people running this club right now are thinking about it the right way. They're not scrambling, they're not panicking, they are building a proper structure, identifying the right profiles, planning for different scenarios, and waiting to make the right decisions at the right time. But that structure only delivers if the team earns Champions League football on the pitch. So the next game matters, the game after that matters. Every single result from now until the final whistle of the final match of this season matters. Because on the other side of a top 4 finish, there is a summer window that could genuinely transform this football club. We are close. Stay focused, keep believing, and keep supporting this team all the way to the end. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who is your number 1 midfield target this summer? Bruno? Tchouaméni? Camavinga? Someone else? I want to know. Let's talk about it. Like this video if you found it useful. Subscribe to Red's View if you're not already part of the family. And I will see you in the next one.